diaphragm opening. We have an eye, sort of a nostril, 2 teeth. One of the teeth has a small cavity. Close call, folks, but I think we got here just in time.
Presented by Maria Menounos and Kevin Undergaro. This is Anatomy of a Movie. In-depth discussions and breakdowns of various movie titles. And now that you've seen the movie, let the dissection begin.
Yeah.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Anatomy of a Movie. Today we are talking about Transformers 4, Age of Extinction. I'm your host Marisa Serafini, and with me I have...
Hi guys, this is Sara Stretton.
Hey movie fans, it's Demetri.
And we also have Phil Speed Tech in the booth, engineering. So, alright, the fourth installment to this franchise, again directed by Michael Bay. What were your overall thoughts?
All right, so I'm going to put this out there first. I saw the original Transformers movie. I guess that was technically a reboot, so I don't know if I should really call it the original. And version 2. I never saw the third ones. This is me coming back to this franchise, which worked out because Transformers 4 was obviously more of a standalone. They rebooted, they brought in all these other people. I think that if you're going in looking for like just crazy CGI and blasting and warfare and action sequences, this movie is full of them. Like there are literally, I was trying to wrap my mind around how many different action sequences there were, and I was like, I think I've lost count, and now they're out of order, and I'm getting confused because there were so many, and that was really fun and really energetic. And so if that's what you want out of this movie, that's what you're gonna get.
Absolutely.
Marisa, you first. I'm gonna.
All right.
Ladies first.
I thought this was another fun film. I mean, Michael Bay, he really captivates the audience with, explosions, blowing things up. He's pretty good at that, and he definitely showcases it well in this film. I thought it was a little long. I mean, 2 hours, 45 minutes, and that makes it 3 hours with trailers and before that, so it was a very long film. There were a lot of funny moments, which I really wasn't expecting, but overall it was a long film. I still enjoyed it thoroughly throughout, and it kept my attention for the whole time.
Yeah, it well, I have seen all of the Transformer movies. I'm just gonna start off, to me, I mean, Michael Bay is a genius. I mean, he and I'm not necessarily saying that he stands amongst the great directors of our time, like a Steven Spielberg, a Martin Scorsese, a James Cameron, a J.J. Abrams, or even a Joss Whedon. No, he stands alone. He is alone, all by himself. I just love his brazen, bold, in your face, F you to the critics, F you to the haters. I am going to put together this movie, and it's not going to make sense, I will admit, and too bad, Mr. I can poop out $100 million movie. And yeah, he's just amazingly bold and brazen with what he's able to do. I will say this, I'm going to be referencing an article which I read shortly after seeing the second Transformer movie, Revenge of the Fallen. And I read this a few days after, but somebody had sent me the link to this back in 2009. And it's written by a very brilliant Charlie Jane Anders. And I thought this was one of the most brilliant pieces or essays of writing about a movie. I laughed. I got it. I totally felt this way. And as I was watching Age of Extinction, this Michael Bay finally made an art movie, still works today in 2014. All you have to do is swap out the titles. So
article still applying. What was it? 5 years later.
Yeah,
well, at least Michael Bay is consistent.
He is consistent, but I'm going to start off with how this author sums up. I'm going to say Age of Extinction is one of the greatest achievements in the history of cinema, if not the greatest. You could easily argue that cinema as an art form has all been leading up to this. It will destabilize your limbic system, probably forever, and make you doubt the solidity of your surroundings. Generations of auteurs have struggled in vain to create a cinematic experience as overwhelming and liberating as Age of Extinction. Women as well as men, everyone watching this film will feel the dissolution of all their certainties, all their illusory grasp of the world. But after you fall into the brazen despairs that the walls of reality become toxic ice cream of a million flavors, you will gasp with a greater realization that once the world is reduced forever to a kaleidoscope of whirling shapes, you are totally free. Nothing matters. Effect precedes cause. Fish spawn in midair. You can do whatever you want. Let yourself go in your adult diaper. Michael Bay invites you. Feel the music of total excess stir inside your deepest core. It is your allspark, your cube. You are a transformer. And that's how I left Age of Extinction.
I mean, that sounds like a very artistic, in-depth essay. You'll definitely have to send that to us.
You have it? It should be in your email box.
Awesome. We will post that link to that. But we talked a little bit of Michael Bay. But, all right, Michael Bay is back for the fourth one.
Sure.
When it was told that he wasn't going to be returning, but he did. And he actually had a fun experience in how he realized how he still wanted to come back for this project. Mm-hmm. He was in line at the Transformers ride at the Universal Studios tour here in Los Angeles, and he saw how everyone in that audience waited 3 hours just to go on that 1 5-minute ride, and he saw like everybody's reactions, like how much they love the franchise, the experience of everything, and then he realized, hey, I still want to play in the sandbox, I still want to be a part of the franchise, and he came back.
Yeah, and I'm not entirely sure, but he may have even had a hand in designing that ride. And then Paramount too threw him, he had a passion project called Pain and Gain, and this is how he gets Mark Wahlberg involved. Mm-hmm. So, not uncommon in Hollywood if they want to keep a director on board, okay, let him go do his passion project. He wanted to make a small film because people kept on saying, maybe this guy should try doing a small movie. So he did, and Pain and Gain was his passion project. To me, Pain and Gain, probably my least favorite Michael Bay movie. And off the top, regardless of what I just read, I like Michael Bay. I think he has a great eye for action, for setting up a shot. I think he's as Americana as one can get for a director. His scenes of country life and his orange sunsets with the American flag, flowing in the breeze are amazing. And so he does Pain and Gain, and by that time too, he, it's like, okay, but you got to do Transformers 4 for us, and
he came back.
And he seems like he's having a fun time doing this.
I mean, he's a very hands-on director. Yeah. Everyone knows that he's like in the action, so I'm sure that's what makes his perspective on action so fast. Everything's so huge because he's there. He's involved with every shot and every effort, and those are what stands out in this movie.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that the orange sunsets and the beautiful stars and one shooting star going across the back reads to me as like, it's a very beautiful commercial. Yeah. More so than, kind of driving a character plot. But
sure.
It is big and beautiful.
Yeah.
I'll give it that.
Yeah.
Big and collapsing.
And big and beautiful. And I did see it in the at the Cinemark XD 3D experience, and again I've sad to see the true IMAX go, but I gotta say, watching it in XD, one of the big shortcomings some people have said about 3D is that, especially when there was an action movie this intensive, things will blur. I gotta tell you, it was crisp, clear. It literally did pop off the screen in a way, and it looked amazing.
Do you think that's because he used so much of shooting, though? He used IMAX cameras.
Yeah.
And he was originally only supposed to use them for, I think it was originally like 30%. And he ended up using them for 60% of his filming, and had even an additional IMAX camera made for him. He liked it so much.
They shot this film in so many different versions.
Yeah.
Formats.
It's an interesting story about him as well, is that in the beginning, he wanted to shy away. He never wanted to make a movie in IMAX. And, if you have a buddy like James Cameron actually sort of kind of guided him and said, look, if you do it right, 3D IMAX is like an amazing format. He's like, you should try it out. And, under James Cameron's advice and tutelage, that's how we shot the third movie. And listen, the third movie too. The third movie is probably my favorite of the series, but it looked amazing in IMAX 3D. And again, when you have he has an amazing eye. He and in 3D, it really, the for lack of better words, I don't know what else to call it, but it was sort of kind of like the rope bridge. See, like, what you're gonna say? Okay.
They're on the anchors.
They're
the
on the
anchors from the spaceship to
Been
the
in Chicago,
buildings,
built
right.
the Sears Tower.
In this XD 3D format, I got vertigo. And at that time, my brain was already starting to, there has been so much going on. And then I'm getting I'm a fear of heights, or maybe it was the widths. But the way that it was shot and the 3D was just literally amazing. Like, it was literally on the edge of my seat going, whoa, like, that's crazy. So, yeah. It looked great. Did you folks see it in 3D at all, or?
I did not. I saw it in the regular format because I knew it was
Right.
going to be an overwhelming film in and of itself.
Yeah.
And then I thought adding 3D to it is just going to be too much for me personally.
Right.
But I did enjoy it, the visual spectacles of it all. The amazing thing that I think Michael Bay does, like what he can accomplish in so much, in so many little easy shots. Cinematography wise, like, there's so much going on, and he can captivate a million different things in one thing, which I think he does very well that other actors might not be able to.
The other directors?
Yeah, directors.
I was like,
sorry. Yeah, the other directors aren't able to capture as much as he can.
Oh yeah,
in a shot. And he's been talking. A lot of people give him flack for he's known for explosives and stuff, but not known for storytelling and writing and executing story plot lines and stuff like that. But he's talking back to the critics too, as of right now. He's talking to the audience, and he says, I love to hate haters. Haters are my motivators, pretty much. He says, I don't care. Let them hate because it gets the dialogue going. Because people are still gonna see his movie. And
you said the key point, like, let the dialogue flow. Like, believe it or not, too, as we talk about haters, yes, the critics generally are not on his side when it comes to movies. And he tried to make Pain and Gain. He wanted a movie that had story in it, and he got crapped on for making that movie. And then so that's why I say he's like the ultimate FU. Well, if you're not gonna like my small movies, I'm gonna go back to making my big movies even bigger and bigger. I'm gonna throw all this stuff at you. It got a 16% on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics.
From the critics.
From the critics. But from CinemaScore, which is audience survey, A-. So
interesting. And I mean, the numbers he's pulling in the crowds, he's pulling in, the ticket sales, people want to see it. And I mean, maybe it's because I love the art house movies. Sure. But I also love high pack action movies. So it's like this. You take it to go in and be like, let's get overwhelmed by the booms and the kabangs and looking how all the Transformers are going about their business.
Yeah, it's the sound and the environment, the experience that you can only get in the theaters that you can't get back home on your laptop or something.
No, and listen, no argument this movie is sensory overload. I mean, to the point of I was like just asking myself, what is more what is more undecipherable? We had talked about a movie earlier this year, Under the Skin, with Scarlett Johansson, and many of us were like,
that I could not see that one.
Many of us were like, yeah, I defy you to tell me what this movie is about, and I defy you to say what certain scenes were about, or action, or where this movie was going or headed. But it was so over the top, and again, I just find it so bold that you would go out like. he just defies convention of storytelling, and he's like a kid playing with his toys, right? And yet the adult who sees this goes, "Oh, that's cute," and then they walk away. But we're not in that kid's imagination. Things are happening. That's why there are explosions, and we're not necessarily fully inside Michael Bay's head yet. So we're just seeing explosions go off, and
he's just like. That's such a good analogy of him like playing with his toys and being like, oh, I have this other one that he needs to be part of this too. So who is this? This person's not a Decepticon or not a pet. So it has to be, all right, his name is Lockdown. Right. Oh, wait, I found this other guy. He'll be CIA. Like, oh, wait, who is this other one? Businessman. Okay. Oh, wait.
Yeah, to quote, like, he looks down on the phrase over the top as if from a great height. I mean, and that couldn't be true. Like, 6 hours into this movie when I'm thinking, oh my God, what else can happen? He introduces a new Transformers. He introduces samurai Transformers that turn into dinosaur Transformers or Dinobots. And I'm like, where the hell is this coming?
Oh, see, I was waiting the whole movie for those because they were using their advertising. And literally the whole time I was like, when's it coming?
But this happens late in the movie.
It happens so late in the movie. And I wish that had happened earlier in the movie.
So late. But then there's the whole breaking of the horse that, like, there's the whole scene where Optimus Prime
that was a really good scene.
The stallion, so to speak.
Yeah, where he, like, had to challenge the, like, leader of the Dinobots.
And at this point, I'm like going,
whose name was...
What the hell is going on
Grimlock?
Here?
Grimlock, yeah. Grimlock the Dinotron.
Crazy. I mean...
That was a great scene.
I
will give that.
I'm not
and how the other
wasn't.
two just went up in the hills. They were like, we're not doing this. And then he comes out and he's like, we just want to die for him, don't you?
Where the hell do they come from? They came from this ship that
they
has
come
mysterious...
from the trophy case ship. Obviously.
Like, God. And then, when you think the movie's over after the 10th hour, they go to China.
Yeah.
And the movie still goes on and they're still fighting. And my only disappointment in that is that they didn't wreck the Great Wall.
Oh, and actually,
this is for China, and China would not have that. Come on now.
No, but you know what? Because we know that this film, they did partner up with the Chinese backer, and that was part of their contractual negotiations, that they had to have Chinese landmarks, and Great Wall was one of them, but actually, I believe, didn't end up making the final cut, which was another factor into why the partnership was having problems with Transformers. In the last couple of weeks, that
didn't make the final cut.
The Beijing Pangu Investments, they had footage of,
and they also there was another disagreement. They didn't like the way a certain, I believe, hotel was portrayed. I don't remember which one it was, but
how could you?
But there were so many landmarks, like the Great Wall, the Bird's Nest, National Stadium, the Water Cube, which I actually did see the Bird's Nest in the film, but for like a split second. Right. So I mean, there were landmarks that were supposed to be in the film for a longer periods of time.
Interesting. And then that would have topped the movie out at 3 days. I mean, it's great. And this is, and again, just going back to Michael Bay, Revenge of the Fallen introduced us to, like, stereotype race cars, grills that had grills and spoke with an urban slant, and we were introduced to Transformer scrotum and testicles in Transformers 2. Like, and when you think you can't go over the top, Michael Bay does it, and he does it in such a fine form, and he doesn't care. And that's what I love about it. That's really, truly, when I'm done with the movie, my mind is melted. I'm twitching. I'm sort of like drooling in my popcorn cup. And I'm like going, well, that didn't suck.
No. Interesting things that they had to add. And also another thing on the Dinotrons, that they weren't actually originally part of the original script, I believe. And then they were toying with the idea of Dinotrons, and every time they kept talking about it, they're like, you know what, we have to do it, let's do it. So they've been
talking about that for years. Like, it wasn't even just put in this, it wasn't an idea brought up by this fourth installment. That was an idea that's been around throughout the franchise, and they've just been looking for a way to input it. And I'm so glad they did. I think it added a great component. Like, I could have had more of the Dinobots.
Yeah, I mean, Transformers, for me personally, I was a little bit beyond like when they were really big, I believe in the 80s or so.
80s, yeah.
There was the cartoon. There was the very popular cartoon which introduced the Dinobots. Dinobots were huge. Kids were buying up the toys, and at that point, I had sort of kind of evolved from buying toys to play with to buying toys more for the collectability and going to comic book conventions and selling them off and doing whatever. So I knew what Transformers were. I just never really followed the cartoon as much in that history. And it wasn't until the first, I know that there was one animated movie that Leonard Nimoy was a voice on. And then, it was years later that they did the live action. But amazingly, the gentleman, Peter Cullen, who plays Optimus Prime, is the person who... Go ahead.
This whole day I've just been going, Optimus Prime.
Optimus Prime.
I can't do it very well, but it really entertains me.
But it's great. He's the only... he's done all the cartoons. He did the animated movie. He's the voice of Optimus Prime. So, who knew? I mean, he found a nice niche for himself, and he too is apparently a very big fan favorite. And
of course,
at this point, I can't see anybody else.
Yeah, and it's good to have original cast members from who's been attached to this franchise for so long. It's a personal thing to them. So I like
a movie of all new people.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So I like how they kept it. It's close to home for him.
Yeah.
To bring.
I also like that they keep kind of Optimus Prime as this link throughout them.
Sure.
I like that choice. Being that in this film they decided to overhaul so many people, characters, whatnot, that they keep that I want character to connect to. That really pulls me through because you have someone that you're constantly rooting for or that you want to win or who's really going to affect you if you lose them. Because there's a point in this movie, I think it was where the Hound, the big ballerina with guns is fighting, where I was literally convinced that they were going to, kill him off because that's how it happens every time. You always have an Autobot being destroyed in this final battle. So I was really happy that they didn't because I want more characters to kind of be a run through line because right now it's like Optimus and Bumblebee and then they kill off everyone else every time except for now kind of reincarnated Megatron,
Galvatron,
Megatron,
and again, it's funny because you briefly mentioned about changing characters, okay, and it's funny. So you have Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox were in the first two movies. Megan Fox
dumps him.
Megan Fox mouths off to Michael Bay. Hey, okay, no more Transformers. And she's like, oh, great, we'll see how you do. And then it's like, okay, we bring in another.
Wasn't there some sort of comment involved amongst, I believe it was
publicly said something
about sexism or some along those lines.
I'm not sure. She just mouthed off. She said the wrong, and he's like, okay, we don't need you. He goes, and you know what? Even without you, I'm going to make $1 bazillion at the box office. And then Shia LaBeouf, he just went crazy. Yeah. It's like, okay, I'm going to show to you that, you're not integral to this. I can put somebody else in. And in all honesty, I really think that no offense to Shia LaBeouf in those three movies, but I do think that if you're going to reboot, they traded up. I mean, you got Mark Wahlberg, who's just coming off that Lone Survivor movie. Yeah. He has a lot of goodwill with audiences today, men and female.
Completely.
So to see him in an action movie, I think was a very smart move, probably on both of their parts.
Mark Wahlberg's been in a lot of action movies.
Absolutely,
too, so
yeah.
It's definitely in his genre, in his niche.
Sure, and but I think for Michael Bay and for Mark Wahlberg, I think it's good for both of them.
Coming off of Pain and Gain as well.
Yeah, and so it was a good choice. The girl that played the daughter, Nicola Peltz, who was in Bates Motel.
Such a good.
She was a good character in that, and I happened to meet her at CinemaCon. She was there along with Mark Wahlberg to talk about. They showed us a scene of Transformers: Age of Extinction, and I happened to bump into her after the presentation. she actually walked by me and I said, "Hey, I love Bates Motel." And then she stopped. She was with, it appeared to be some of her friends, maybe family, I don't know. But she actually stopped to talk to me about that. She was like, "Oh, you really like the show?" And I said, "Oh, watch it weekly. It's great. Don't know what's going on with your character." And she's like, "Oh, well, you know, I had so much fun making that." And she was very sweet. Very, very sweet. And I just hope that the business, as it sometimes can, I hope she has strong parents. I want her to keep that sweetness for as long. And anybody who's willing to stop to talk to me,
I'm gonna say that
I
this
give her credit.
movie is probably not going to help with the sweetness. It's probably gonna make things harder
It could,
because that was one thing that stuck out to me in kind of a negative way. It's like, she is an absolutely beautiful, stunning girl that you don't need to push that how attractive she is. And like they're trying to make kind of fun of it through his lines being like, "Oh, your shorts are growing shorter by the second." And I'm like, then give her longer shorts like a normal parent, or make her go change or do something. But it was like every time he would like be like, "You're in trouble," she was never in trouble. And it was driving me crazy. I was like, and she came in, she was wearing a button-up shirt, and it was like unbuttoned like all the way down so you could see her bra. And I was like, just have him button, like, if this is his daughter, he's going to make her button her shirt, especially if she's not allowed to date. And it pulled me out. It pulled me out of the movie every time that I was like, she's stunning, you don't need to make her wear no clothing. Like, she can wear just button the button. It's not that hard.
Yeah. Well, Michael Bay never met a hard body that he didn't like. I mean, just from the opening scenes of the first Transformer movie, like with Megan Fox under the hood. I mean,
I agree, but we've seen it.
No, I understand.
Seen it.
But
it's the
that's
exact
just,
same thing.
He did the same thing in the third one with the Megan Fox replacement. I mean, if you're going to be a good-looking girl, and you know that Michael Bay is going to. He's going to exploit it in a way.
But also the dynamic was also different in this film too,
Very much
because
so.
in the first few films the parents weren't really involved, and then this one we had the parental father figure, so they
and that's
had
why
to
it didn't
touch
make
upon
sense
that.
to me. But it also it felt so unrealistic, because like any father who's that protective, any family member who's that protective, like, you're not going to dress like that around them. Or you're going to make changes. And if their whole thing is that she underlyingly like takes care of him and they love each other so much, and it's not just a complete rebellious stage, then it just realistically doesn't make sense.
And I agree.
Pulled me out every single time that she was dressed like that on screen. And I was just like, okay, this is just everyone look at the hot girl scene. Everyone look at the hot girl scene. And I'm like, you don't need that. She's beautiful enough to stand out in any piece of clothing. Like,
very young.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah. It's not logical.
No, and until you just voiced your perspective, I didn't see it that way. But no, that makes sense. You're right. Any overly protective parent
would
or
never,
especially a father, they wouldn't allow a pair of shorts like that in the house. And the girl, like to your point, wouldn't wear them in front of the parent if she had them hidden.
Exactly, unless she's like it is very obvious that she has a rebellious streak. She's obviously been driving and doing all this stuff, but you're either so rebellious that they're aware, or you hide it and you look like Little Miss Perfect in front of their face. She like the whole time she's kind of like straddling that line of being like, "Oh, I'm very," and I was like, "This doesn't logically make sense. This isn't realistic, and it's pulling me out of this movie."
That pulled you out of the movie.
Yeah.
Not the action scenes. It made no sense from beginning to end. Those didn't pull you out. That's great.
Exactly. I was fine. It was just I was just like,
that's awesome.
Put on some clothes. 17-year-old with an overprotective father.
But it was good to see her. I mean, she was, especially coming off of Bates.
Right.
You're a fan of Bates Motel, right?
I love Bates Motel because, like, seeing her in that show, because she portrays the biatch girl, the girlfriend in that, and then seeing her now again, kind of being the rebellious attitude type of young woman, adolescent. I'm like, okay, she has that going for her, but again, to your point, she is beautiful. Hopefully she'll get out of that phase, even in acting, that hopefully like she won't be typecasted as just like the angry girl.
Yeah, or I mean, like I said, it's for her to make the leap from small screen to big screen, this is a big leap. I mean, she's in a huge,
Humongous.
you know,
And it's amazing for her career. Like,
Right.
so many people have seen this.
Yes.
and you know, so whether or not she goes back to doing small screen or whatever, again, I guess my original point was, she was very sweet. She had a really sweet demeanor about herself that I just hope
She
sticks
holds
around,
on to.
because
I
sometimes
did
they
too,
lose
because
it
now
quickly.
she has so many opportunities.
Yeah,
And like,
yeah.
you want to work with people who
Yeah,
are kind
yeah.
and sweet, and you want to know that they are that way, and that makes me very happy.
Absolutely. And again, it's Michael Bay saying, guys, I don't need you. I can make $100 million movie and put these people in, and they're going to be great.
Still gonna be fun.
Well, he comes up with, this action movie it's a Michael Bay like formula, like it's big boom bang. Let's set up this partnership with China. He knows what he has and what he's selling, and he does it really well.
Yeah.
He is selling an action movie. He is selling crazy CGI and new technology and being swept away. And then he makes deals. He makes deals like that's on production. He has product placement everywhere.
Chevrolet was all over this film.
And they always have been.
Oh my gosh.
All
Same with
over
Bud
this
Light.
film.
Bud Light has always been part of these
Well,
movies.
the thing is,
Especially like actually opening up a Bud Light and drinking it. I'm like, yeah, okay.
But that's only the ones we're catching, because there was a bunch of American product placement.
Sure.
But there's also a bunch of like Chinese product placement.
Yeah.
And like some of that did not logistically make sense, because there was like protein powder that was from like China and like Texas. But there is so much. And so like I was pulled, like I recognized all the American ones right away. Like Victoria's Secret, Budweiser, Oreos, everything is in your face. But there's also all the other ones that we don't firsthand see that they're getting. So he's doing he's making great deals of it.
Yeah.
He's playing it smart. It's just he's playing his game, and it's very different than a lot of other movies are made.
Yeah, and we always talk about budget, right? And, to me, it actually sort of kind of surprised me that the production budget alone was estimated to be around $210 million.
Do you believe that?
Look, with P&A was $285. I don't know. I mean, with all the deals that he had with people kicking in, I mean, it didn't seem like a $210 million movie. Like, and I'm not including the prints and hard drives or I'm not including the hard drives and advertising here. I mean, we've talked about other movies that have had less than what this is. I mean, this is literally 2 hours and 45 minutes.
And we've talked about other films that had a lot that didn't seem like transcendence.
Yeah.
I mean, so just the... For this film, I felt like it definitely spent like every single penny.
It was all up on the
because
screen.
of all the action. Every 10 minutes there was something going on.
I completely. I was going to say I honestly would think it was almost even more, even though 210's a lot.
I felt the same way. I mean, I honestly did when I found that out.
I was like, I'm surprised it's not higher.
Yeah.
Because it was so
location
much.
Filming, and you're right.
Like they blocked out 4 blocks of Detroit. Then they're filming. Like I was like, this seems like more money.
Yeah. I don't.
I mean,
know.
all the places that they filmed. I mean,
Exactly.
they 4 little towns in Texas, and one of them being Elgin. But also, interesting thing, the filming in the small town of Elgin, Texas, actually had an economic boom in that town because the whole crew, cast, and production was there, so like a lot of people were going to the hardware stores, and it really benefited the small businesses in that town in Texas. So like those little things, and then blocking off 4 blocks of Detroit for one of their main filming scenes, I thought was fascinating. Also, that helps with Detroit and GM and everything that's going on there, because Detroit is such a rundown city now.
Yeah. And what a production of that size can bring to a city. I mean, that's why that's why these cities, pardon me, afford these tax incentives for productions like this to come in.
I feel like I've seen in the last 2-3 months, I've seen like 3 movies that had some component of Detroit involved.
Sure, yeah. They want it helps. It helps their economy, and a studio is going to look for where they can get the most bang for the buck. And you always hear too how LA is losing, some production business.
Yep.
And,
Yeah.
it's because those cities you're able to, Minneapolis, I believe, is one, and Chicago is
Chicago's
one.
becoming-
Chicago is very big because it's a beautiful city
Atlanta.
to photograph. Atlanta.
There's places in
so-
Louisiana that are filming now.
And
Yeah.
those are big metropolis cities too. You
Absolutely.
can easily, showcase certain angles to make it look like a completely different place.
Sure.
And they do. I mean, I know specifically, although they did have filming sites in China, they did film part of the China scenes in Detroit.
In Detroit, yeah.
So they can go back and forth. So
Yeah.
movie magic.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of it in it, and it's the other thing too. I walk out of the movie and I'm saying to myself, physically exhausting movie to watch. But then I was with my friend Ryan, and I said, as physically exhausting as this movie is to watch, I mean, could you imagine how exhausting this movie was to film?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it doesn't, especially with Michael Bay, it doesn't seem like he lets up at all. And even though you know that they're filming it out of sequence and whatnot, after the first 45 minutes, it's like all bets are off.
It's
It just
literally like
doesn't
running,
stop.
running. They never stop running.
No. And
ever.
It's or fighting or jumping or looking up
Or
at the sky
being
or
sucked into the sky, into
Yeah.
that ship, and then going back down. And then
yeah, again, what was that all about? I mean, people
The magnet?
criticized
the magnetic ship, which I questioned. Okay, so we had the big ship, but I questioned why it would suck anything up and then drop it down
it?
again, like
Or why
a
all
very
the buildings
unstable
didn't go up.
electromagnetic
Okay.
It's just
field
very
that it had.
strange.
Here's my theory again because
but
I
I
had
thought it
no
was
idea.
just like the
I
spectacle.
thought, was this how they
of everything
capture?
blowing
Is
up.
this how he normally captures all of his
I
trophies?
don't know. I didn't know what the hell was going on. They were getting lifted up. They were being dropped down.
And
I mean,
then,
what the hell's going on? And this went on. But I kept on thinking
Like,
about
went on
Man
for
of
a good
Steel.
10 minutes.
Oh my God, it went on for a long time.
Forever.
And I kept on thinking about Man
And
of
then it was
Steel because Man of Steel, the haters of that movie said, "Oh my God, he just leveled Metropolis. It was such overkill and blah blah blah." And if you saw Man of Steel and you remember the spaceship, which was the big ship was terraforming Earth to be Krypton, and so it would shoot this thing in, so everything would come up and then it would stop and everything would fall down. And so I was almost like thinking like Michael Bay saw Man of Steel. And people were complaining about it being over the top. And he's like, I could be over the top. And you know what? I'm going to throw in a ship
like,
that has a
I'm
magnet.
gonna do it
'cause
too.
I'm going to throw things up in the air and I'm going to make them drop. And I'm going to do it for a long time. It's not going to have any purpose.
Nope.
Other than
Literally,
it's gonna be 10 minutes.
Other than action.
I was like, maybe this is how he like captures all of his trophies that he was talking about. How he like captures everyone's because they're made of metal. But I was like, I feel like this logistically isn't making sense.
No.
I was like, I don't get it. How long is the time period? And I was like, and then what was it? Was it like Gridlock fired the inside and that's what made it blow up or something?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's exactly
Maybe?
what happened. Yeah. Something like
You
that
have no
happened.
idea.
It's just,
I was just
How
like, it's
can
on
you?
fire now.
But
Okay.
we had that whole sequence that so did not need to be there because we also had them in the car driving in reverse trying to avoid all of that.
and
I
then,
was like, this is just way too much action that serves no purpose.
it serves I mean, you could technically you could cut about an hour out of that movie
And nothing would change.
and nothing would really, but it maybe, I don't know if it would make more sense. Like I just couldn't figure out things like Nicola, the daughter, Tessa was trapped in this spaceship, and you had this weird creature grabbing onto her leg, and I'm like going, what the hell?
He was one of the captured things in the spaceship. All those were cages.
Yeah.
And she was hiding off the floor, so she climbed on a cage, and his tongue wrapped around her leg creepily.
But still didn't have any purpose because they killed it.
Yeah, they killed it, and Michael Bay has said, well, that's a mystery. Well, great. Now I have to wait another 5 years.
Yeah, is that going to
see
be
who
a
else is
creature
on
we're going to
this.
see in the next film?
I mean, it just, my friend Ryan put it right. There wasn't any, as mind-blowing as the action was, there weren't any stakes. Like, there was no, it was hard to gravitate. it was tough because there didn't seem to be any stakes as to, these robots fighting. There was no necessarily much of a human interest to.
I was really sad when Surfer Guy died.
Well, I was too, but that was a shock. That was the only twist in the movie to me, that when that happened, I was like, all right, kudos. I didn't see that coming at all, right? Did you?
And he was awesome.
And he was the biggest comedic relief, and then they killed him off.
Yeah, and again, my theory on that
everyone
is...
was like,
well, they replaced him with...
with who?
With Shane? Is that his name?
Oh, the Irish kid.
He was supposed to...
Shane.
He was supposed to take over the comedy.
But
you can tell, with his whole, I'm not saving
his
your daughter,
attitude.
you're saving my girlfriend. Those were all supposed to be, jabby little
But it
jokes.
almost seemed as if that character, Lucas was the name of that
Surfer
character?
Dude.
Surfer Dude. It almost seemed as if that character was like, okay, all right, well, comedic relief. Nah, I've got so much action. We don't need comedy in this movie. He's an extra character. He doesn't have a girlfriend. We got the girlfriend, boyfriend. We'll just kill him.
He doesn't add
We're just going to kill him off.
They gave him a cool
intelligent
death at least.
Yeah, well, to me, I say, flip-flops are bad. Everybody was running, and you can't run in flip-flops, and you can't outrun, lava.
That's why you always wear tennis shoes.
Lockdown.
Was it lockdown? I think.
Always wear tennis shoes.
You always wear tennis shoes because you never know when you're going to have to run.
Run
That's the story of my
really
life
fast.
every single day.
I just completely disagree with that statement so much.
Well, just look what happened to him. And,
Hold on. What's her name? I'm totally Tessa was wearing heels half the time, chunky heels, but heels.
But again,
She was
Lucas
running.
was a character who didn't add anything, nothing intelligent
He
to
added
the
a
plot
lot for
point.
He did at the beginning.
He was comedic.
I was really
but
entertained.
honestly, he wouldn't be able to keep up with anyone else in that cast.
Yeah, I mean,
so.
after I thought, but it still was a shock. I didn't think.
I think the way he died was a shock,
Yeah.
more so than the fact, okay, I knew originally that, they were originally going to have to get rid of him in some shape or form. It was the way he died that surprised me.
But what was interesting to me is that, speaking of characters they could have killed off, at the end of this, we have basically everyone survive except for Surfer Dude. And it's but who would you really have hurt from losing? I would have really probably hurt from losing Kane, because he's our main character, and because
Cade, yeah.
Cade. I'm just messing up everyone's name today. I'm really sorry, guys.
It's
I'm
okay.
because I want to say Marky Mark, and I'm that's wrong.
No,
Don't
say
go with
Marky
that.
Mark. Say Marky Mark. Yeah,
And I'm but if he
Cade.
dies, or if Optimus Prime gets destroyed, those are the two that are really going to affect
Right.
me. Everyone else,
I might have
you
been a
still
little
don't have
bit
that much
bummed if
connection to
Tessa.
them.
I might have been bummed if Tessa. I mean, I actually liked. I understand your point, and it makes a ton of sense. But I did like the rapport that Tessa had with her father. I like and there was loving. So I think if any one of them died, I would have been a little bit bummed out. And I think to your point, you're right. It wasn't that I was bummed out that character. It just took me by surprise. Because in the previous Transformer movies, nobody big died in such a way, or I didn't see that death coming, or I even cared. So when it happened with him, it was just oh, okay, I didn't see that coming, and it was within the first 45 minutes of the movie that it happened. So yeah.
I mean, I agree. So they also added another interesting storyline to the Cretaceous period, with bringing the dinosaurs, and now that we have these seeds that can ultimately turn anything into
A planet.
a planet,
metal
Transformers.
by a certain area.
I thought that was interesting because it felt with this film, it was more going away from the Autobots versus Decepticons storyline that we're so used to, more so the origins of everything.
Right.
I'm not going to say as much go away from as I'm going to say add to, because despite, I think it is true, they opened up a huge can of worms that now they get to play with who are these creators, what have they done,
Right.
who's in charge here, what is this hierarchy. But they didn't completely get rid of the whole Decepticons thing, because you still got reincarnation Megatron and prototypes
it wasn't
and
the
business.
biggest focus of the story.
True, but that's because in general I don't think there was a biggest focus. I felt like it was very split. it was like a pie chart, and like there was one section that was like the CIA, and there was one section that was the business, and there was the one section that was like space and the creators, and there was the one section that was like Megatron reincarnated, and then like it was like
there were just so
it's
many.
just like, let's see how many enemies we can make. It'll add lots of fighting.
But it's nearly impossible to follow all the threads. So okay, the beginning of the movie takes place back in the Jurassic era, the dinosaurs. And we think that's probably
And they wiped out the
Dinobots.
dinosaurs.
Right, it wipes.
It
So
wasn't just the meteor.
it wasn't a meteor. It was these Decepticons or whoever they were. So then you have this blonde scientist who comes into the movie thinking that this character is going to play into something. No. It was just like, it was like, I mean, she shows up at the end and she says, "I'm very proud of you." Yippee! Great.
I thought it was
I knew
like
all along.
Mark love interest maybe, but no.
No, she's
Nope.
like, nope. But again, that to me is the Michael Bay, like, doesn't matter. I'm going to put all this stuff on screen and I'm going to break
No.
It
every
really must have
story
just like a
convention.
table of toys being like, who's playing with each other right now?
Yeah, and how he switches like the gears and another favorite sequence of mine, which was a sequence that he built up from the third movie. In the third movie, there was an amazing highway chase with Bumblebee, and Shia was in the car. And Bumblebee is trying to dodge like these missiles and coming up to a big crash up in front of him. So Bumblebee transforms out of the car into whatever and picks Shia up. And it's all done in this amazing slow-mo, right? And he saves Shia and he bats like debris out of the way, and then he jumps over the debris, and then he transforms back into a car and deposits Shia back into the passenger seat. And I remember seeing that going, whoa, that was amazing. And in this movie he does something sort of
There's
similar
a few.
Where they save all four
all
of them
four of
at the
them,
same
and
time.
there's a toss-off.
Yeah,
He tosses
here you
him
go.
to like, oh, here you go. He goes, go long, and he tosses him to
They have to have those parallels.
And
Did you not see the
man,
football being thrown the whole time?
That was like, yeah, it was like, and I'm like going, wow, if like that, I thought in the third one was a big scene. He blows my mind again. I'm
He
like,
multiplied
how does
it.
he think of this stuff? And again, what it has to do with the plot other than that they're running, but God, it just looked good. And that was like in the third hour of the film. I think that happened.
I think it kind of happened twice with the catching of them.
Yeah.
I think it happened twice within the movie. My question is, this was a little bit of a, I don't know if it was a plot hole or just something that didn't make sense
Oh,
to me.
please.
So many plot holes.
I know, but this is the one I kind of just really want to know. So the first time that they encounter the human-made Transformers, when I believe it's Stinger. and
Stinger, yeah.
Stinger comes out and Bumblebee tries to shoot Stinger, and Stinger like does that whole thing where he like separates kind of into swirling particles and then reforms.
Oh, yeah.
And Bumblebee like makes a comment and goes like, "What the?" or something.
Right.
Why didn't that happen every time that they got shot at? Why couldn't they just like detach material, reattach? Like I'm confused how like Bumblebee tried to kind of kill one and it didn't
I can
die and
understand-
just separated, and then the other ones were able to be killed.
I can understand why that didn't happen every single time, because if that did, it would have just taken too much time to like, okay, reforming. That would get just too repetitive.
And I think each one has their own strength and or weakness, maybe. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I just like, if it can transform into
get it.
anything all the time, then how does it get
Right.
destroyed unless you like find a way to contain it?
Don't know.
Like I don't know. I was highly confused.
But I will say another one of my favorite scenes in this movie, and I think it's cool. And then when I read about Michael Bay and the making of this movie, one thing I never knew about Michael Bay, he never used a second. He doesn't have a second AD.
Second unit.
There's no second. He has a second. Yeah, he doesn't have second unit. He does literally everything, and it's a further proof too that everything is in his head, and he might be the only one to understand it.
Yeah.
There is the scene that takes place. It's the siege of the farm, and you have these cars like going, like just flying up over the hills, like doing these jumps. And this one scene, it takes place in slow mo. the car goes boom in slow-mo, and the military guy, the wheel hits him right in the face, and then he spews whatever out, and Michael Bay talks about that scene. He goes, all right, this is what I want to do. And he tells everybody, he goes, okay, I want you to get a crane for this car. He goes, you're going to lift this car up about 10 feet off the ground. You're going to change the tire so that it's foam. He goes, all right, you, stuntman, okay, I'm going to have you run at the tire, like at full speed. We're going to move the car very slowly, maybe at about 10 feet, and you're going to run into it and then fall back. And everybody's like going, what the hell are you talking about? He goes, just trust me on this. And he used a phantom camera, which apparently slows things down to an insane rate. And he goes, just bear with me. Just do what I ask. And they raise the car up. He has the stuntman. Oh, and they put some stuff in the stuntman's mouth. And he had him run up, and he hits his face. And that's not CG. I thought it was CG. Nope. And hits the tire, and he goes back. The stuff comes out. And then when he showed it, he goes, see, this is what I'm talking about. And they're like going, holy shit. Like, so again, it just goes like in his mind. Like, but
He
it's a
has
great
everything
scene. Like, when you think about it, I thought it was
out.
CG. I thought it was CG the first time I saw it. Like, because how do you do that? No, he lifted a car up in the air.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fascinating.
Guys, this is going to be worth, it is. They say that, painting games is a passion project, but how can you not say this was a passion project when it's like, that's what he thinks of for something that literally, all of these are in action. Almost every shot is like 2 seconds. Like, that was not a long moment at all, but it was a moment he wanted and was passionate about and saw in his head and made happen.
So this would look awesome.
Yeah.
But I just love how everybody's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, just bear with me, just do it and trust me. This is gonna look amazing. And it does, and you're right.
I think that's probably just an ode why studios give him so much money to just, do all the crazy things that he's about to do.
He's able to like bring his imagination come to life in a sense. He's able to make his dreams in a sense. This would be great.
A reality.
And again, I can only imagine how exhausting it is to work under those kind of conditions. And if he's doing all that work, I mean, you don't get any downtime. It's not like the second unit goes out to film that and then he just approves and says, well, this is what I like. He's out there actually filming.
Yeah, and also like not having second unit because he was known to do 50 to 60 different like aerial shots a day while filming. So, just use that as your location shots.
I think that's why, though, when they talk about, after every one of these films of a franchise, like the first question is like, so when's the next one coming? And, like everyone in this film is just like, well, we think about it sometimes, but everyone has to rest after these films and then talk about it and then get back into it because they put so much energy. So exhausting. And it's exhausting. The
other thing that was cool too, because he talked about he uses, I don't know, it's not a tablet, but it's like a camera. And he says, they're able to put me in a chair. I'm able to shoot with this camera, this digital thing. And they can move me around, and I already have in my head what I want. So I just say, okay, I want to go up, I want to go over here, I want to go around. It took me 20 minutes to film like this one scene that goes on. He goes, it took me 20 minutes. So maybe that's where the budget, like in certain scenes, if he's like doing what in back in the day would have taken weeks to film, and if he's filming a scene with two Transformers fighting, rolling around, and he's filming it and he knows he's going to put it in, and it takes him like 20 minutes to do that. I mean, I know it's longer to render the special effects, but it's like, yeah, I'm done in 20 minutes. I'm like, Jesus, like, good for you.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. And so, again,
I mean, he has the vision that other directors might not have.
Yeah.
And he gets so much flack for being, hey, you're not the greatest storyteller, but you are a better visual art director.
Yeah. And again, I think, like, let's go back. We've all seen Bad Boys.
Yes.
Okay, I mean, Bad Boys is a funny movie. Has some good action. You can't say The Rock is a good action movie. Nicolas Cage is great in it as an action star. He did this movie, The Island, which I think is one of his more underappreciated movies. Ewan McGregor, Scarlett Johansson. But
visually, that was stunning.
Oh, visually, it was amazing. The air scooters, the hover scooter chase scene is amazing. I'm not defending 100% of Pearl Harbor, but the one part that I will defend is the attack on Pearl Harbor. I was in Hawaii last year and went to Pearl Harbor and did the various pavilions that talked about the history and how Japan devised this plan. And all I kept on thinking about, believe it or not, was Michael Bay's Pearl Harbor. And I came back home and I remember I went on a YouTube and I was thinking of what I just learned. And I was like, oh my God, he took great time, attention, detail, and respect for the military men there. And he made this, I mean, to me, it's one of the more accurate descriptions of the attack of Pearl Harbor. So,
definitely had Battleship Rowdown in that film.
Yeah, oh my God.
And
absolutely.
And the portrayal of, sinking of the Arizona. But that's Pearl Harbor.
Right. No. But just talking about him as a filmmaker storyteller.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. And yes, he's going to have the haters. And I can't defend the story of Age of Transformers, but I can defend him as a director in his eye. And
also that also adds to the production designers as well of this film. We had Jeffrey Beecroft and then art director Ben Proctor, who and then we had ILM helping with all the lighting and the color of this film. Overall, visually, this film was stunning. It was so brilliant and visual, and it was vibrant.
Yeah,
with everything that was going on.
Remember how we talked about? Remember when we did 300?
Yes.
Rise of an Empire, and we talked about how difficult it might have been for a cinematographer because it was basically all green screen, right? With this one, we have this gentleman, Amir Mokri, who's at Emerson. He went to Emerson College. Phil, I thought you would like that. How difficult can it be for a cinematographer to film? I mean, because they did some night shooting, they did, being in China and doing all these various locales, the lighting, and then knowing that something's going to...
base plates they had to film
exactly
beforehand.
Like, something's going to be here, but it's not here now. So, I think for a cinematographer, that has to be a sort of kind of a hard deal, right?
I would assume.
I mean...
yeah, and they...
although I think, because that's something that affects everyone on this project, like cinematographers, like obviously Michael Bay, the actors, just dealing with all these things that you just purely have to imagine with all these people screaming at you, not knowing what's going on.
They had a team of 60 plus animators.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a humongous, constant working team, day in and day out. And also, ILM helping with the lighting and the rendering of everything, of the animation, and just the way the light moves with the Autobots, and how the light would reflect properly off of Optimus Prime's blue colors and stuff like that. All those little details that we wouldn't really think of, but the texturization of even the transformation and how it would look, that I believe in an article that I read that they film water reflections and stuff to mimic the look of what it would like when they were transforming.
Oh, that's cool.
That's very cool.
That's cool. And then of course you have sound design.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
The sound of the movie was...
The sound was
crazy.
awesome.
They melted my eardrums too.
Yeah, we had Greg Russell and Eric Andol and a few other people, but they really portrayed the abstractness of sound in this film. And for the space, because we opened this film up out in space, all these big mysterious aircrafts, but for that they did electrical fields, and they went to electrical sounds and the electromagnetic sound.
Demetri and I just look at each other
that's cool. I mean,
interesting.
Again.
Yeah, and then for the truck, Optimus Prime, the truck, they got Monster Truck and just filmed those sounds. And then for Lockdown, he was actually, because Lockdown is such a menacing character,
Right.
and a brand new character, they actually did an homage to Star Wars and Darth Vader because his character is behind a mask.
Yeah.
So it was you had that heavy breathing, definitely an homage to Darth Vader. And then
Sweet.
The alien ship, they use modulated triangle waves to get the ups and downs of everything in the sound, which I found fascinating.
Yeah,
I think that they definitely have fun sound effects this whole film, because that is what I take away. I mean, you do get a couple of the rock songs and full songs going on.
Absolutely.
But it's more sound effects than, like, to me, a soundtrack movie. Like, I don't come out of this being like, oh, I'm going to click the score and it's going to tell me the story. Right. Or else I feel like I'd be in my car and it would just be like, boom, bam,
right. Yeah.
Like, it is. But they have fun with it.
No, absolutely. And it makes me wonder, is another thing that I thought of, it's so over the top, right? Usually these movies come into the year. They're not necessarily looked at as Academy Award material.
No.
But, for a sound design, I mean, don't you think there should be a possibility or special effects for everything that, I mean, I know we have plenty of the year to go. We got a Chris Nolan movie coming out. We got other movies, but at least right now, I mean, for certain things that I've seen thus far, with as many special effects that they had in this movie.
Something in effects
sound
is
editing,
amazing.
Maybe.
Effects is really amazing. I think that, maybe sound editing. It varies, because it's a technical movie.
It is.
That's where it shines.
Right.
I mean, last year we had Gravity, which was just awe-inspiring visually, and this is, I think, I can't really think of another film that we've had that has been so crazy in the visceral reaction you have to what you're seing and hearing.
Yeah, and I just don't. I mean, well, okay, we do have The Hobbit coming up later this year. We have a Mockingjay movie, which will have some special effects, like I mentioned. Chris Nolan's Interstellar will be coming out later on this year.
That'll be big.
So he's always an innovator, so much. But listening to you, Marissa, talk about the sound design, like that's incredible. Like that's crazy, the depths that.
Oh yeah. Oh, and another one for Stinger, they actually use like sonic transformers and actually, if for the hardcore fans of Transformers, they actually put a few sound effects from the opening theme song of the Transformers cartoon version.
No,
and there are like subtle hints to that, those little nuances.
They do pay little nuances and homages, even with like their characters and who they use. And
like the more than meets
genres.
the eye line is somewhere in the film.
Is it?
Yeah.
See.
I mean, I didn't catch that, and then when I found that, I was like, oh,
so much
maybe
going
you should
on.
watch the film again.
How could I? And we, you mentioned music, and Steve Jablonsky, who we've talked about before.
Who's done all 4 films.
Right, and he's done like Ender's Game. He did do Pain and Gain, so obviously he works with Michael Bay. He did The Gangster Squad. He's been on Desperate Housewives.
Did he do Lone Survivor?
He did do Lone Survivor.
So also working with Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah. So he's his score. It's weird. It's like you're right. I can't. Other than when we started off the podcast, I heard the score, but while watching the movie, I mean, it definitely is the bed to everything other sound that's being
so much
thrown at my ears.
Oh yeah, and they also said when they were sound mixing the film, that Steve Jablonsky was in studio, and the way that they mixed it and edited it together, he would compose his music to the beats of a lot of the sound effects throughout the scene. Which was
there's so many. I don't know how you kind of wouldn't, though. You know what I mean? There's so much going on. They have to be tied in, because you've got so many sounds that you're already going to be dealing with.
Yeah.
And even a couple of the scores for this particular film, you can hear a lot of sound effects that he would use as certain beats in his music.
Yeah.
Which I felt different compared to the other scores that he's filmed for the other films.
Sure.
But let's talk a little bit about the cars.
Okay.
I mean,
Marissa, you're going to take it away from me from
I'm
this
not
one,
a big car fan. I don't know
I'm not a big car
anything
guy.
about cars other than the fact that there's apparently an engine and wheels. But
I know what I drive.
I figured for the guys who might be listening.
Maybe it is. Maybe you need some jumper cables.
It's my Enterprise. It's my RAV4.
I figured for the guys who are listening might enjoy this, but for Bumblebee, they used like 2 different cars. The 1967 Chevrolet Camaro, and then when that got upgraded, that went to the 2014 Chevrolet Camaro.
I really liked when it was the original one, like the older one, because it had the initials SS on it. And I was like,
yes.
I'll take it. I'll take one.
Sara Stretton, SS.
I'll take it.
Then Slingshot was the 2014 Chevrolet Corvette Stingray.
Sweet.
And Drift was a Bugatti Veyron Grand Sport Vitesse. Sorry if I'm going to like butcher these names. I don't know. Again, I don't know things about cars.
Bugatti. Yeah.
Bugatti. Lockdown was a 2013 Lamborghini Aventador LP.
He's always used Lamborghini.
That was a change, though. A lot of the cars that they eventually went with for the actual filming were changed.
Right.
Like almost all of them had a different original car in like the original script, and then towards actual production, those all got changed, including that Lambo, which was something completely else.
That Lambo. Galvatron was a Freightliner Argosy.
Okay.
And Stinger was a 2013 Pagani Rara. I believe that's how you pronounce it, Rara. Which is a Chinese automobile.
Some of these sound like they were in that Need for Speed movie.
Well, some of them I know are Chinese models cars, and part of them reason they wanted those, not only was it because of the contract with China, but it's because the companies want to bring their cars to the U.S.
Right.
And so within the next couple of years, some of these cars and their brands the companies are hoping will be available in the United States. Yep. And this is already like forward marketing for them, getting people recognized to like what their cars look like, and et cetera, et cetera.
American consumption.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So but not only is this advertising to go buy your, Chevy, it's also going to be buy a new Chinese car.
Well, I remember when the first movie came out,
Yeah.
Chevy GM did the huge push
Crazy.
on the oh yeah.
I saw Chevy every single time
Everywhere.
they transformed a car, and when they would park, Chevrolet logo, right in your face.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then Shane's car, the boyfriend's, his was an Ultimate Sonic RS, which was probably, in my opinion, the least memorable, even though we did a lot of chasing in that film.
I like Surfer Dude's car.
What was it?
Oh,
Pinto?
what was
No, what was his
I was
car?
the little one.
I forget what his car was.
It wasn't a Mini, was it?
Maybe he wasn't the
Oh,
least
you know, it was a Mini.
Was it an older
It was a
Mini?
Mini.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
it was a
Mini
Mini.
Cooper
Yeah, it was like
kind
a.
of-
Yeah, it was.
I
a
really
Mini,
liked
you're
that
right.
one.
Yeah,
The
that's
very,
funny.
very
It didn't
simple
really
car.
fit Texas to me, but I was like, okay.
They got it for free.
And I think that adds to his character. He was a very misplaced, out of place character.
So was
like,
Mark Wahlberg.
how
with
did
his
he
accent.
end up in Texas?
Yeah.
How did a surfer guy end up in Texas?
Were any of them from Texas? I didn't hear it.
Probably.
No, I didn't hear
not.
that. No.
Also, just a little bit of the Dinotrons. There were 4 of them. Grimlock, Slag, Slash, and Snarl. One of the concept artists, Wesley Burt, he uploaded his photos, his conceptual art to Facebook, and he had like different versions of the Velociraptor, Spinosaurus, Triceratops, in different colors, different lighting, and I think it was pretty cool. You can check it out on his Facebook profile.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, did he have that up there for people? Did he put that up after the movie came out? Did he do it
after.
for people to vote on or something? No? Like to see, hey, what design? No. So it was after the movie?
No,
he put
it
his
was after
concepts
the
up?
fact. It just
That's
showed
cool.
like the different versions and how many concepts they had for creating the Dinotrons.
You'll have to show me because I do not have a Facebook.
Yeah,
so,
well,
but that is really
post a link.
cool. And, I think that obviously you can tell that there are a lot of people involved, like concept artists, and coming up with all these different ideas and how to, how are we going to do this, and ultimately whittling it down. And ultimately, I guess, in a sense, it being Michael Bay's decision to go, I think we're going to go with this and whatnot. But, again, you can just see how exhausting a project like this would be to make.
Very,
Agreed.
very exhausting. I mean, we talked a little bit about some of the cast, but how about the other people that were new faces to the franchise, I guess you could say. I mean, we had Stanley Tucci. He's not a new face to anyone, really, but I thought it was interesting how they casted him as a billionaire, somewhat psychopathic.
Sort of like
always-
Steve Jobs-ish.
Yes,
He's very good at playing, that he always has wheels turning. So
Yeah.
he definitely plays intelligence very well. And he fits right in billionaire tycoon land. I felt like he did a good job, and I felt like for picking the person who could find a moral compass and turn. I liked his little character arc, and I liked how he liked his fighting girl employee.
Oh, that's who I want to talk about.
Yeah.
A bit. But, Stanley Tucci, it's weird what his career track and path has taken him. Because he's a good actor, and, then when you start seeing him in the Hunger Games movies, you start seeing him in Jack the Giant Slayer. You're seeing him in the Transformer movies. Like about 10, 15 years ago, you wouldn't necessarily expect him to be in these kind of movies, but I don't know. I mean, the guy wants to work.
The audience is there.
And people like him.
He's not choosing necessarily unwisely. He's in like Hunger Games, huge
Big
movies,
franchise.
and he's been in. He's going to be in all of them. Now if need be, he can be in the next Transformer movie. I mean, he's picking movies that I don't know. Maybe he has kids or grandkids, and he's like, hey, why aren't you in a movie like this? He goes, okay, can I be in a Transformer movie? And it's not like he's bad. I never get the sense that he's phoning in the job. He was fine in this movie. He's doing it for a paycheck, but he wasn't obviously blatantly doing it for the paycheck. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I really like him, so that's a harder probably point for me to play, because I think that a lot of his characters, although seemingly are about like from very different worlds, I guess, I don't want to say he always plays himself, because that's not what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Whereas I think there's some actors that do. But he does have kind of like a through line with his characters, like a through point of view, where it is that smart, it is that calculating.
Right.
He has that within him. So to me, my favorite part of his storyline, though, was his relationship with his coworkers versus the actual mission of his company.
Yeah.
I wasn't as sold by like them, creating this new metal in their show. I was more invested in him because of the fact that he had this change, the fact that we saw that elevator scene.
The elevator scene is very funny.
It was great. Like, that's more of where I was glad that his character in that story was involved.
And his character, too, is, like, when you think about it, this Joshua Joyce, his was the only one that had any semblance of a character arc. I mean, Mark Wahlberg, from the beginning to the end of this movie, doesn't change all that much, other than he's accepting of his daughter and the boyfriend, but that's about it. But his character does, he has a 180 if you're going to defend, I think, that, right?
I think that's exactly what Stanley did with his character, because you could see he played a person who was so passionate into his work, like excited about the new transformation, the metal and what it's going to do for the world, and that we can build our own Transformers, and like his evolutionary mindset that he had in it going on. And then him realizing it, hey, this is actually not
being played.
Yes, this isn't my exact ulterior motive that I wanted, like this isn't exactly how it's panning out that I wanted. And so I did see his character change in that way. He did have that realization moment where like, hey, I'm actually doing bad instead of good. And I think he did that well. Also, let's talk about we had Jack Reynor, who played Shane, the boyfriend. Again, another fun character who did help here and there. I mean, he drives the car. He's an interesting younger male foil towards Mark Wahlberg's character.
Yeah, I think he did a good job for what he was given. I don't know if I can really applaud what he was given.
He could have been almost, no offense to him.
Yeah,
it wasn't
I'm not familiar
him. Really, I'm really not too familiar with Jack Reynor.
He has not been, and he hasn't been in. He's been in stuff. He has not been in a ton.
And I agree. For what he was given, he was fine.
For what he was given, he fully embraced the role. Like, he did his job. He was the boyfriend. He was the driver. He was kind of a smart aleck.
Right.
And
the girls love the accent.
Yeah. So it's like what the writers, what the story gave him.
And done.
He did. It was just
sexy,
like,
check. Accent, check. All right. Boyfriend, check.
And then you had...
And then we had Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah, Kelsey Grammer.
Which I thought was actually nice. I mean, like, his character was so dark and even more evil than what Joshua
Oh my
Joyce
God,
was.
absolutely.
And then I loved how he appeared, most of his scenes were like in Chicago, and it just made me think of his character Boss, which was, that place takes place in Chicago. I'm like, okay, it's the same kind of commanding, kind of scary, intimidating kind of person that
And he was
so good at playing.
Yeah, and he was Harold Atinger, and I think, I'm not entirely sure, somebody would have to cross-check me on this, but I think he's the only human that Optimus Prime kills, like, period, like, throughout the series. Because he's always vowed that he wouldn't kill a human being, so to speak, but
I feel like you're right.
he point blank shoots him.
Oh, completely.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
'cause,
Done.
Well, here's my thing too. Okay, so you had Kelsey Grammer. His henchman was this actor Titus Welliver, who I'm a fan
In the
of.
Matrix jacket?
Yeah, that guy.
Okay.
I
Did you like the
Titus,
Matrix jacket?
Yeah, I like him. I think Titus Welliver is good. I always remember him. He was in The Town. He's worked with Ben Affleck he's been in a lot of movies, and he usually does play a bad guy. I like him when he plays a good guy too. He's also Hieronymus Bosch in the Harry Bosch series of novels, and I think it's an Amazon Prime show. But he's good as the bad guy. But here's my thing. So he's supposed to be this really tough guy, and and our hero dispatches him, with a football to the face. He dispatches him, but he dispatches him, and Mark Wahlberg puts up a good fight. Kelsey Grammer is a little bit older. You can't see that he's going to be that much more agile. And I was having a hard time believing that Kelsey Grammer is going to beat the crap out of Mark Wahlberg. But,
Yeah.
Yeah. After we've seen Mark, yes, I completely agree. Also, I was like, wow, Mark Wahlberg's really good with using an alien gun. When there was no reference to him being good with guns at all.
Oh, no.
I was just like, you just picked up an alien gun and are incredibly good at shooting it.
Hand me over.
Am I the
Hand over
only
my
one,
hand,
too,
yeah.
that noticed, how he was firing the gun? It wasn't like he was...
It wasn't a trigger. It was more of
wasn't
a
trigger.
button.
Yeah.
You push a button.
Yeah.
It was very, I don't even know.
He was a dead shot.
He
great.
was, but I think that also just goes. So we've
that would
seen
come from the Lone Survivor training.
We've seen Mark Wahlberg in a lot of other action films where we know he can be a gun-toting son of a biatch.
I understand that he is fully capable, but I'm just
Sure.
like, where does this character fit in? Where I'm like, he's an inventor on a ranch in Texas that doesn't have an accent and creates these kind of dorky robots, and then. But he's really good, and he's good enough to kind of escape the military dude.
Oh, sure.
And then defeat him with a football, and then shoot all the aliens, and then not. It was a little confusing.
I mean, in Mark Wahlberg, I
don't believe Mark Wahlberg couldn't do it. I think he could have.
Well, it's interesting too. I would love to ask Mark Wahlberg what was more exhausting: Lone Survivor, which we talked about it, and we know the extensive training that he went through, and doing stunts and doing that, or this movie.
Which he did 90% of his stunts in.
Yeah, I'd like to know. I'd like to, hear from him what he thought was the more exhausting movie. Now, I want to talk about now in some cases on IMDb it's Bing Bing Lee, but then I've heard otherwise known as Lee Bing Bing. I don't know.
I don't know either.
One she is. I'm going by to me. My God, she was like that. That's my crush.
And she's a huge Chinese.
Yes.
I can't remember if it's actually a reality show or she's an actress. She's one of the two, but she's
been
huge.
in a bunch of other movies, and I think she's going to be in an what's the video game movie that what's the one that has that model in it?
I would not
Video
know.
game movie.
It's based off of Resident Evil. Evil. Yeah, and she was. What other movies could she have been in that I know of? Well, in any case,
it also
I
shows
really
that
loved
they
seeing
used
her.
a lot of Chinese local talent as well in this film too,
Yeah.
because they did film in China, which was also part of their agreement.
Right.
And there was a lot of lines that were unsubtitled.
Yes, I noticed that too. Yeah.
I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah.
That they didn't include the subtitles here.
Well, I thought she was very beautiful. I've seen her in interviews, and the elevator scene was great. Like she could kick ass. She was really great, and I loved how the other guy,
the random guy had no line, and he was just like pow 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 pow.
You know, and,
Done.
Right. It was a good scene.
I agree.
And you know, another one of those little Michael Bay flares that. Here we go. At least that was humanistic. People fighting.
I mean, yeah. Let's talk about a little bit of the pacing, because I think all of us had a problem with it for the running time.
It was long.
Really long.
It was long.
But there were a lot of funny moments that, you know, I did get the laugh at. But I felt we didn't need as much funny, slow moments. Mm-hmm. And we could have easily cut it out.
I don't disagree with you. The movie is the longest movie in the series. Up to that point, I think it was Revenge of the Fallen that had the longest in the series. When I felt pummeled by the end of this movie. I'm not kidding. I mean, I felt literally pummeled and exhausted. I came home and I had to crack open some beers, and like my head was like, the pacing was fast.
It was fast paced, and my problem was, okay, so we had our setup in Texas. Okay, they're after these guys. Then we move over to Chicago, and we take out the KSI building place. And then I'm like, okay, nothing's still happening. Now we go over to Beijing, China. And then we have a big, all the stuff that goes on in China. And they go on the ship and all that, and they're tracking down Tessa.
And you have like an hour in each place.
Still nothing is happening. And then they're fighting through China, through the streets, and they're like, okay, we gotta, you know, take care of the seed bomb. And they're still fighting. Okay, still nothing's happening.
Yeah.
A lot's happening. A lot of things are
a lot
happening.
Again, I said a lot happened, but nothing happened.
Right. I mean, a lot happened. It's just, again, the pacing. It's odd to hear to hear these words come out of my mouth, because I do like a good action movie. I like a good Die Hard movie, or even like a Jurassic Park, or what Steven Spielberg can do. Like with an Indiana Jones movie. But of those...
Steven Spielberg has a vote on this.
Yeah, well, he executive producer and such. And those movies, like, you really realize the importance of being able to catch your breath. Mm-hmm. And this movie doesn't really allow you to catch your breath at all. Like, with the exception of the first 45 minutes, like when we're in Texas, up to when they firebomb and we lose Surfer Dude. Then it's off to the races, and it's relentless.
It really doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop. And being a guy that loves this sort of stuff, I felt pummeled. It didn't stop. So, but that's why I said I was exhausted.
So much.
Right?
Don't forget location number 4 when they're on the ship.
Yeah,
the ship.
When they were on the ship. And even that, like, looking for Tessa took a good 20 minutes.
I mean,
like, you can't forget these giant chunks of time.
And 20 minutes,
And just chasing, like, okay, Tessa's at one end of the ship, they're on the complete other. Let's fight all these people to get to her.
I'm trying to
took a long time.
Yeah, and I'm trying to break down, like, 20 minutes is a long time. And I'm just trying to think, if film was still relevant today, how many reels of film that would have been shipped out to the theaters. And, we're talking, I bet you this would be approaching 8 to 9 reels. I mean, it's just insane as to, you're right, that took 20 minutes. What was the other scene that we were talking about?
The whole magnetic going up and down ship.
That was 10 to 15 minutes.
Easily cut that.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And they literally got to a point where I was... Like, I was twitching.
I told Marisa I was in the theater, and I was like, I was mesmerized so much that I wasn't really aware of what my body was doing. But somehow I ended up with like an arm over my head, like this. Like, or something.
If you're
I don't
listening
really
in
know
iTunes,
how it
definitely
was.
check out the video.
But I was like, like my hand was over my head. I must have been like stretching or something. I don't even know. But like I snapped out of the movie and I was like, oh crap, my hand's in the air.
Right.
Like, how did that grab my own hand? And
how did that happen?
I was like, how did the person behind me not kick me or something?
Just go back to what I said before.
Packed theater.
I was in a very packed theater because I tend to go to the movie theaters at the most civilian times ever. And so I had...
When did you
everyone
see it?
was there. It was a Saturday at 8 o'clock. o'clock, so like
yeah.
everyone was
8 at night,
there.
okay.
I saw
And,
it
yeah, 8
late
at
last night.
And it was packed?
Late.
And it was packed, you said?
Yeah. But I also went to a theater that was $5 Tuesdays.
But my theater, like,
They have it.
everyone was squirming at the end because we just wanted to move. It was so long.
The bathroom was so packed. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I mean, the bathroom was like everybody just made a beeline to the restroom after the movie was done. And,
There was a lot of kids
you
in
know,
my movie too.
There were,
even
huh?
though it was late. There was a lot of kids. I
Oh.
noticed because they kept getting out and leaving and coming out and coming back.
How about you? Were there a lot of kids?
Not
that
so
you
much. It was
remembered?
mostly like the young adults,
There was a lot of kids in my
demographic.
show.
Yeah,
and it
because
was
I went to
late
a
at
12
night.
o'clock in the afternoon show, and it was crowded. I can't recall if there were a lot of kids when I saw it, but it was crowded.
There
house,
was full
12 noon.
families.
Really?
Full families in my theater.
Wow.
Okay. Well, you know, we talked a little bit about the reception and people, the audience reactions. I mean, there's a lot of people in my audience, a lot of guys like hooped and hollered at the car transformations. When Megatron went from the old rusty truck to his new, not Megatron, did I say? Optimus Prime, I meant. Sorry. When he changed into his new look, people went crazy over that.
Yeah, I mean, the audience reaction for me, and again, that was one of those things that I just didn't recall in the past movies. Like, I was wondering, what the hell is going on? This laser beam comes out, and now all of a sudden he was
You
this
can like
rust
code
bucket,
off
and then,
another car.
Yeah, I guess.
That was a big thing in the first film. When
Yeah, see, I
Bumblebee
don't-
first changed, that was a big deal. And so
Yeah, it's been such a long time. My audience, what I recall is walking out, and there were a couple of guys behind us, and the guy was like, I thought that was awesome. It's like, okay. You know, my audience applauded when, you know, it seemed to applaud at the right time. Nobody was laughing at the picture. They were laughing when they were supposed to. You know, my audience seemed to like it. I didn't get the hoot and hollerings like you did with Optimus Prime.
they went crazy. Like
yeah.
the guy next to me was like clapping loudly.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
How
But-
about you? Like last night?
No.
No. But okay, so we know that there's actually a fifth movie
Sure.
coming out that's slated to come out in, I believe, 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also had the writer coming back for that, Aaron Kruger, who wrote this film, who's wrote this, I believe,
wrote
the
the
third,
second one.
second and third one, and this one, and he's writing on the fifth one, and he doesn't have the sixth one planned out yet, but there is a fifth one
Yeah.
down the road.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know if I can say I'm excited for it.
I need a break from it.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
a good 2 years will do it. I mean, I'll be seeing it. You know,
Yeah,
and I'll
but
be
it
prepared
doesn't
for it.
incite that. I don't know. Maybe for me, it's like I hope I'll watch it. But I don't have the same like joy attached to the next one coming out as I do have for a lot of the franchises I'm a fan of.
Sure. Oh, I understand what you're saying. And again, for me, like, again, yeah, I'm the same way. I'm not a huge Transformer fan. I mean, I've actually thought, like I said, the third one to me is, of the series, probably the best one. Fallen, Revenge of the Fallen, to me, is probably the worst of the batch. I like the first one, and this one, you know, I like what it is.
Yeah.
You know,
were
I appreciate it.
entertained.
I was entertained. I've never found them to be great paragons of movies, but they are. I can't say that for the most part they're not good popcorn movies. You know,
For me, I gotta say, I don't really remember the storylines in each of the films. I mean, I will admit I didn't see the third one, even though I should, because that one really takes place in Chicago. And I was actually in Chicago at the time when they were filming it.
Oh,
so,
really?
So when seeing Chicago in this film, in the fourth one I saw, I was like, yep, that's Wacker. Yep, that's Millennium Park. There's the bean. Yep, I stood there.
I just
so,
noticed
like,
the bean.
Yeah, so I recognize the Chicago landmarks, and they also filmed in Uptown, which is more North Chicago. So I enjoyed that as well. I mean, the overall visual spectacle was pretty awesome. I don't think anyone else can top what Michael Bay has done for these films in this franchise. And I mean, it will be exciting to see what they have in store for the fifth one, and like what other new characters they can bring, new
what
New
mysteries will
Transformers.
be explained. Look at, you know, I think that it'll be very interesting come the day Michael Bay just decides to hang it up on the Transformers. And to see who they bring in.
It'll be so different.
It'll be different. And you know that they're going to bring in a guy who may be that person's first time directing a movie. Mm-hmm. So they'll save the budget that way. You know, I mean, I'm sure Michael Bay gets points on this movie. And, you know, look, eventually it'll happen. You know, he was asked, you know, what are your thoughts on the next movie? He goes, I just finished this one like 50 days ago. It's like, you know, I need a good vacation. So I have a feeling he will be back. I mean,
I think it would be interesting for them to hand it off to someone else.
Yeah, but I think that's up for Michael Bay. I mean, I almost think that that's his decision as to whether or not, which is weird because it's usually not up to the director to say, I want to do this. Mm-hmm. But I think with Paramount, like right now, this is what Paramount has going on. Yeah. So, you know, if Michael Bay says, hey, all right, let's start talking about the next Transformer movies, I think
they're going to be like, okay.
You know,
maybe.
Until he just finally says, I pass it on to somebody else. But I'm sure he'll be a producer. And
of course. He'll be involved in some end.
Add input to it. I mean, he's set up an incredible franchise. Despite if anyone doesn't like it, people are still going to go watch it.
Yep. Absolutely. You know, and Michael Bay has done something. He does give back, so to speak. I found this great little article about this gentleman, Mark Freiberger, who was from Charlotte. And basically, this kid, Providence High grad of 2001, he's directed 2 features. He's written another. And he basically, he did the commercial, the Fashionista Daddy for the Super Bowl commercial. He won this contest. So he did this commercial for the Super Bowl. And its ratings won him a plum. Director Michael Bay agreed to mentor him while making Transformers Age of Extinction.
Interesting. How fun for him.
How awesome for the... Yeah. Michael Bay says, hey, come on, kid. I mean, could you imagine?
That must be wonderful. Like that. Right? Like, great. I'll go.
Sure.
I'll totally be your shadow. Like, they offer programs like that for so many careers, you know. Mm-hmm. People doing doctors and lawyers. People have their shadow. I feel like that doesn't really happen as much in film, especially in like with directors who sometimes are very, very guarded over their projects.
And unless you unless there's nepotism involved, and granted he got this contest and whatnot, but he gave it a shot. He got to film all over the world. That's really awesome. He got signed by UTA. You know, so again, all you Michael Bay haters out there, you know, he sees something and he offered to mentor this kid.
And he gives back too.
Yeah, so I thought that was a really nice story.
Yeah, and also this, just real quickly, this film opened up in China 27 million by the first day, and that broke records. I mean, and it's still breaking records now because the biggest opening day for any film ever in China, replacing Avatar. Back in 2009, and by the weekend, China had 97 million.
97 million.
So much money.
Yeah.
So much
Are
money.
we going to talk about the quote unquote, you know, over here it was reported at 100 million. Mm-hmm. And there's been some, for lack of better words, a little bit of controversy about the gross, where some people have cried shenanigans and saying, well, it's only made 98 million. And, you know, Paramount, you know, it's a whole interesting thing that when you release your grosses on Sunday, it's an estimated gross because they don't have Sundays in. And I did this, I reported grosses, and you have to try to figure out to the best of your capabilities. You know, it's a very educated guess, and you use past histories, comps, whatnot. You try to look at past similar weekends and how the drop would be on a Sunday. So they reported on Sunday $100 million. But then Monday comes around where you actually do have all those figures coming in. Now,
and we've seen this before earlier this year.
It happens. It
Not
happens a lot. But see, I think what people are getting at now, when I was doing grosses, I should say, you try. There's a missing factor. There's a company out there, I think I mentioned them before, called Rent-Track. And what Rent-Track does is they have deals with all of the theaters, as many theaters in the country as possible, and they report the grosses, and Rent-Track pulls in all these grosses so that the studios can get as close to an accurate count. Now, when Rent Track was just starting up and everything, they didn't have a ton, like they had a lot of theaters, but they weren't as widespread. So you had to figure in, not only did you have to estimate, you had to figure in a missing factor to do that. And then Monday, even when Monday came along and the grosses came in, you still had to factor in a missing factor. Well, Rent Track has become so popular and pretty much everybody feeds into it with the exception of maybe 100 to 150 theaters, give or take. So when you're getting your grosses, you're pretty accurate. And all the studios and exhibitors could see the same thing. And Paramount went out and still claimed that they made $100 million, where other studios are saying, no, they didn't. There's no way. We're all looking at the same thing. How do they come up with $100 million? It started to raise a small little fuss. And, I don't know. Studios inflate grosses all the time. And we're not talking Miramax has egregiously inflated grosses like on Scream 2 by like $5 to $6 million. Like if you
that's
say
a lot.
That's a lot of money.
And especially for that kind of film too.
Right. And for a movie like Transformers, I will say this. They want to say $2 million? Like
exactly. 2 million on 100 million is a lot different than 2 million on like 4.
Right.
I understand 2 million is a lot of dollars, but you're talking percentages. And do you really think they're not going to make that extra 2 million in the next couple weeks? Come on.
The next couple hours.
Yeah, exactly. Calm down.
Exactly. And I'm like, well, you know what? It's a lot of it comes down from jealousy. Maybe another studio has a movie that's coming out that
and they want to have a record for the year.
And they want to say, we were the first movie to hit $100 million.
Yeah, that's true.
And the funny thing is, what nobody really looks at, too, another interesting thing about gross collecting, especially in this day and age, movies have a lifespan like of maybe 4 weeks, okay? But nobody starts to pay attention to the box office gross. We're paying attention to Transformers. This week we'll be paying attention to Transformers, Tammy, Deliver Us from Evil, Earth to Echo. So
Rise of the Planet of the Apes
will be coming out soon. And, the movies that opened up 6 months ago, like those are the movies right now, too, that studios are sort of kind of padding the gross because maybe they need to reach a certain number, but nobody cares. Yeah. But so when Paramount says they were $100 million, I'm like, really? Every studio does it. Stop with the finger pointing because...
But it's just like...
It doesn't matter because they're going to make that money
like
anyway.
Who wants to be on top for the year? Who wants to get the records? Who wants to beat out everything? And when you're going for records, sometimes $1 million, $2 million really can make a difference.
Yeah, and 90 million in China. I mean, we are talking that globally. This movie's
97 million in China.
In China.
Just in China.
That's crazy.
That's the way they say it's the way of the future.
Yeah,
it is.
No,
and China was a big backer in this film. They had Chinese actors, Chinese merchandise, and product placement. China was very involved in this.
Sure.
Yes.
And I think they want to become more involved in this type of
or just filmmaking.
Yep.
Sure.
I feel like films are going to be more catered towards China in the future.
I agree.
All right. Well, I think that's it for this dissection. We covered a lot. I mean, and there's gonna be a lot more Transformers. It's not going away anytime soon.
No.
I mean, we have other franchises to also, talk about too. I mean, Hunger Games is coming out at the end of the year. That might make a big record sale, in China. Who knows?
And in the States, Hunger Games could be poised to do 150. I mean, it's coming out Thanksgiving.
It's huge.
We get, like we said, we got The Hobbit.
Yep, we have a lot of big franchises coming out.
A lot of big stuff. And then next year people are already pointing at 2015 as being the granddaddy of we've got Star Wars, we've got Age of Ultron, we've got, it's going to be big. I think this year, we'll see. It's a lot of money coming in, not in my pocket.
I feel like it's the summer of sequels. 2014 is definitely the summer of sequels.
2015 is going to be even.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. You can follow us all on Twitter at Movie Anatomy. You can follow all of our fun dissections on our website at anatomyofamovie.com. We have a lot of different social media places. Check it out. Where can we all follow you to keep talking about these awesome films?
You guys, hi, this is Sara Stretton. Just keep commenting YouTube on our website. We love to talk to you guys, and we'll see you soon.
You can find me here, folks. I do write back, and I do check these things periodically. Here's where you can find me at Anatomy of a Movie.
Yeah, and hope you all have a nice 4th of July. Maybe go watch this film if you haven't. I mean, you're listening to us, good chances you already have. But, thank you all for listening. We will see you for our next dissection.
Bye, all.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the rest of the Anatomy of a Movie staff, we would like to thank you for listening and subscribing to the show. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email or tweet us. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been Anatomy of a Movie.
Thanks for watching Anatomy of a Movie on YouTube. For more on your favorite movies, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to let us know what you think in our comment section below here. Bye.